I like to look at the headlines, man, all across the universe, just to get an idea of what's going on. I like to show you the dark side of humanity, the underbelly of humanity, so that we can be more aware of how blessed we are to not have these crazy issues going on in our lives, or so that we can realize that we aren't the only ones with these crazy issues going on in our lives. But the main purpose of it is to just acquaint you with reality. A 12-year-old boy dies in Russian roulette game. Murder charges have been brought. A 12-year-old boy is dead after playing Russian roulette with his peers in Jackson, Mississippi. Police say Jackson's deputy police chief Derek Hearn identified the boy as Markel Noah, according to reports by Mississippi-based WLBT-TV, a news outlet. Following the death, officers arrested 2 juveniles and 1 adult Friday. Police say the 2 juveniles are being charged with murder, and the adult is being charged with accessory after the fact of murder. No further details were given at the time, but police said an investigation is ongoing. And then out of Florida, Florida always has some type of weird criminal activities. A mass casualty event was prevented after police stopped a woman from driving into a path of runners. Now, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, there was a guy who just got convicted. Darnell Brooks, I think. And he had he was upset with his girlfriend, got into an argument with her. And, some dudes, they get in a rage. When they get upset, they get in a rage, and they physically manifest their rage through punching walls and just doing physical things to show that they're angry. And he chose to run over some innocent people. A Florida woman was arrested after driving her Range Rover recklessly through the path of a Thanksgiving Day 5-kilometer race in St. Petersburg. Ashlee Lauren Morgan, 38, was spotted driving at 60 miles per hour as she approached a cordoned-off route where an estimated 3,000 runners were taking part in the annual turkey trot. Ms. Morgan was allegedly driving recklessly on Coffee Pot Boulevard when she was approached by officers who asked her to produce identification. Police say she refused the request and sped away at a high speed in the direction of the running course. She is alleged to have drove around 2 parked police cruisers with emergency lights flashing near the Snail Owl Bridge and ignored officers' commands to stop. Officers stopped her vehicle on Bridgewater Boulevard before it reached a part of the course where runners were still completing the race. The police department said in a statement the driver could have easily caused a mass casualty event had she been able to continue. When she was finally pulled over, Miss Morgan repeatedly banged her head against the police vehicle and refused to comply with orders. Police say she was pepper sprayed in order to make her comply. It was later learned she allegedly fled from a crash site after colliding with a stop sign. Miss Morgan faces multiple charges, including reckless driving, fleeing and eluding law enforcement, leaving the scene of a crash with property damage, and resisting an officer without violence. Okay, so yeah, it's just, all right. That's crazy. I just don't, see what interests me about these cases is that woman looks like somebody who you might encounter at the post office, the grocery store. She could be someone in your family. And usually when you think about crime, you're thinking about outsiders and weirdos committing acts of crime. But in the real world, anybody is capable of committing an act of violence, an act of crime. Oh my, and this is something else that's kind of crazy. This is kind of crazy. Murder detectives, and this is obviously foreign because we call them, we wouldn't refer to our detectives in America as murder detectives. Arrest 2 16-year-old boys over nature reserve knife killing of a 17-year-old. 2 boys have been arrested in connection with the murder of a teenager. Jesse was knifed at a nature reserve near the River Cam in Cambridge at about 2:50 p.m. on Saturday, November 19th. He died at the scene near Logan's Meadow a few minutes later. Last night, police arrested 2 16-year-old boys in properties in South London and arrested them on suspicion of murder. They were taken into custody and are due to be transported to Cambridge, the courthouse. A post-mortem examination confirmed 17-year-old Jesse died of stab wounds. In tribute to his son, Jesse's father, Henry, said Jesse was a good son, and at home he was very creative and loving. He made jokes, cooked a lot, and helped with the chores. He was a quick learner and did very well at school. I miss him terribly. I will love him forever. Now, that's something that's Something that we got to be mindful of as well. In England, their gun they don't really have. I mean, they have weapons, they have firearms, but for the most part, they don't. They're a smaller country than America, and they don't really have that. They don't really. They're an island, you know. See, England is its own little island, United Kingdom. It's not connected to Europe, so it's very difficult to get guns there. But they do use knives, and their homicide rates are steadily climbing. Knife homicides are pretty much the norm because of the lack of weapons. But it just goes to show you that even in a society without access to all of these high powered weapons, homicides still continue with knives, which is up close and personal. You understand? And the streets of London, the streets of England, the UK, period, are dangerous, just like anywhere else in the world, man. And, it's just every day there's something going on in the world, man. Something bad happening in the world, you know? And there's like a certain freedom in me telling you these stories because I'm hoping that you can look at these stories and say, you know what? I got to be a little bit more mindful, a little bit more appreciative, and a little bit more on point, because anything can happen. Nobody thinks that they're going to end up in a news headline when they wake up in the morning. You think you're going to engage in your morning routine, do your normal thing, but anything can happen. So keep that in mind. Peace.